AI assistant, like, totally blows it on a simple question.
Yeah.
Like, what's the capital of Australia? And you just want to scream at it, come on, you're supposed to be this super smart AI.
Right.
Well, today, get ready, because we're diving into some research that might actually have the answer.
Okay.
It's called Toolformer. Language models can teach themselves to use tools.
Ooh, that sounds kind of sci-fi, doesn't it?
Totally does. Published just this year, 2024, by, get this, researchers from Meta AI Research
Okay.
and Universitat Pompeu Fabra. And basically, this paper asks, what if, instead of cramming AI full of more facts,
Yeah.
we actually teach them to use tools just like we do?
That's a really interesting idea because, as much as we talk about how smart these large language models are,
LLMs, yeah.
LLMs, yeah, as they're called, they can be surprisingly bad at things that, like, we find easy.
Right.
They can write you a poem that'll make you cry.
Yeah.
Ask them to multiply 8 by 7.
Good luck.
Good luck.
And it all comes down to how they learn.
Right.
These LLMs are trained on massive, massive, massive amounts of data.
Yeah.
But that data is static. It's like they're stuck in the past, which is why they might tell you that Blockbuster's still the place to go for a Friday night movie.
Exactly. So this research, it kind of proposes this brilliant solution, which is give the LLMs access to tools through something called APIs. You can kind of think about it like giving them a Swiss Army knife of information.
Okay.
Equipping them with a calculator, search engine, even a calendar.
Now, a calendar. That sounds seriously cool. So how does Toolformer actually work? Walk me through it.
Okay.
Like, I'm 5, but, maybe with a little less juice box.
Okay. So imagine this. You give the LLM a bunch of fill-in-the-blank sentences.
Okay.
And access to these tools. So let's say there's a question like, the Eiffel Tower is blank meters tall.
Right.
Now, instead of just guessing, Toolformer can actually use its Wikipedia tool.
Oh, wow.
Look up the Eiffel Tower and plug in the correct height.
So it's not just blindly filling in the blanks. It's like understanding when to use the tool.
Exactly.
But how does it learn which tool? Are researchers hand-coding these scenarios?
So that's the beauty of it.
Okay.
It's what's called self-supervised learning.
Okay.
So Toolformer basically teaches itself through trial and error. It tries different tools, sees what works, and then gets better over time.
I am floored. You're telling me in a head-to-head on factual recall, Toolformer running on GPT-J,
Yeah.
which is smaller than GPT-3, right?
Way smaller.
It actually surpassed the accuracy of GPT-3 by 10%.
I know.
Because it had access to these tools.
Incredible. And remember how we talked about these APIs being like this toolkit?
Yeah.
Imagine like these tools are directly integrated into how Toolformer writes its responses.
Okay.
So if it needs to multiply some numbers, it doesn't just guess.
Mhm.
It actually writes a little code snippet to call up its calculator tool, gets the answer, and then seamlessly weaves it back into the text.
That is so cool.
It's really slick.
Now, you keep mentioning this toolkit. What other tools besides the calendar are we talking about here?
Well, aside from like the usual suspects like the calculators and search engines, they gave it access to a Q&A system,
Okay.
translation tool thing like Google Translate, but for AI.
Oh, wow.
And yes, even a calendar.
A calendar. Is it like going to schedule a meeting with GPT-3 or something?
Not quite. But giving it access to a calendar, it gives it a sense of time.
Okay.
Which is surprisingly important for a lot of tasks. Like, imagine trying to answer questions about historical events.
Right.
Or understanding, like, the sequence of events in a story without any concept of time.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So with this toolkit at its disposal,
Yeah.
how did Toolformer actually perform? Was it a learning curve or did it kind of just take off?
Well, it's funny you should ask about a learning curve.
Yeah.
Because that's precisely what the researchers were interested in. And what they found is actually pretty remarkable.
Okay.
They tested Toolformer on all sorts of tasks, from factual recall and math problems to like translation and question answering.
Don't leave me hanging. How to do.
Well, remember how we talked about Toolformer using GPT-J as its base?
Yeah, way smaller.
Which is significantly smaller than something like, a GPT-3.
Yeah.
Well, get this. Even with a smaller base, Toolformer was often able to outperform those much larger models in certain tasks simply because it knew how to use the tools.
Get out.
It's like that old saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day.
Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime.
Exactly.
Wow. Are we saying that giving an AI access to these tools can actually make it more efficient than just making it bigger and bigger?
That's exactly what this research suggests, and it has some pretty big implications.
Yeah.
Just imagine the possibilities if we start thinking beyond just making AI bigger, and instead we focus on making it smarter
Right.
by giving it access to the right tools for the job.
Okay. That's pretty mind-blowing. But before we get too carried away, you did say often outperform, not always.
Right.
What are the limitations here? What do we need to, be aware of?
Yeah, no, you're right. It's important to remember that this technology is still in its early stages.
Okay.
And like any good scientist will tell you, more research is always needed. For example, while Toolformer can use individual tools really effectively, it can't yet use them in a chain.
What do you mean using tools in a chain? Give me an example.
Sure. Imagine you need to translate a recipe from French to English and then convert the measurements from metric to imperial.
Okay.
That requires using multiple tools in sequence.
Okay, so it's like Toolformer has all these individual tools in its toolkit,
Right.
but it hasn't figured out how to use them together.
Yes.
Like it can use a hammer, it can use a screwdriver, but it can't quite build a birdhouse yet.
That's a great analogy, and that's definitely one area where further research is needed.
Okay.
Another limitation is that while it can access and use these tools, its interaction with them is still pretty basic.
Okay.
It can't really refine its searches, browse through results, or have that back and forth dialogue that would make it even more powerful.
So it's kind of like using a search engine, but you can only type in one
Right.
very specific keyword, and then you're stuck with whatever the top result is.
Exactly. It's like having a powerful sports car, but you can only drive it in first gear.
Right.
There's so much more potential there, just waiting to be unlocked.
Well, this has been super fascinating, but I am curious. What are the real-world implications of all this?
Yeah.
What does it actually mean for, us regular folks?
Well, that's the really exciting part, right?
Yeah.
The potential applications of this technology are huge. Imagine AI assistants that can fact-check themselves in real time
Oh, wow.
or pull up the most up-to-date information while you're, in the middle of a conversation.
Or how about an AI that can help journalists write articles, and it's automatically fact-checking and citing sources?
Right.
That would be incredible. What about customer service?
Yeah.
Could this lead to AI-powered customer support that actually knows what it's talking about
Absolutely.
and can help you troubleshoot a problem in real time?
Imagine AI customer service agents that can access your account details,
Okay.
understand your problem, guide you through a solution, all while staying up to date on the latest company policies and product information.
That would certainly make those calls a lot less painful. And what about education?
Yeah.
Any potential there?
Tons. Imagine AI tutors that can personalize lessons based on a student's individual needs,
Wow.
provide instant feedback, and adapt to their learning style.
Yeah.
The possibilities are pretty much endless.
Okay, now I'm really getting excited. This isn't just about AI writing poems or solving math problems anymore.
Right.
It's about AI becoming a truly useful tool in so many aspects of our lives.
Yeah.
It's like we're on the verge of this whole new era of human-AI collaboration.
You got it. And the best part is we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
This Toolformer research is really just the beginning.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in this whole Toolformer saga?
Yeah.
So where do we go from here? What are the next steps in this whole Toolformer saga?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If we can teach AI to use our existing tools,
Yeah.
what happens when we start designing tools specifically for AI?
You mean tools that are built from the ground up with AI in mind?
Exactly.
Not just adaptations of our human tools. Now that's a thought.
Exactly. Imagine the possibilities if we stop trying to fit square pegs into round holes.
Right.
And instead, we design tools that perfectly complement how AI thinks.
Okay.
We could unlock whole new levels of problem-solving creativity.
So instead of AI just catching up to us,
Right.
it could actually surpass us in ways we can't even imagine yet.
Precisely. And that's both exciting and a little bit daunting, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's like we're standing at the edge of uncharted territory.
it really is. This whole deep dive has been a real eye-opener. We've gone from AI struggling with multiplication tables
Right.
to AI potentially revolutionizing entire industries. It's amazing how far this technology has come in such a short time.
It's true. And it's a great reminder that we need to keep exploring, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Yeah.
Who knows what incredible breakthroughs await us just around the corner.
Well, I, for one, am both excited and a little terrified to find out,
Yeah,
but in a good way.
of course.
And I have a feeling our listeners are right there with us.
I would say so. This has been a fascinating discussion.
It really has.
No.
So to our listeners out there, if you're as intrigued by this Toolformer research as we are, we encourage you to check out the full paper. The link is in the show notes. And as always, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI.